PM Cares approves funds for installation of 551 medical oxygen plants at government hospitals and district headquarters throughout the country. Prime Minister asks for completion of these plans as soon as possible. Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges countrymen not to panic in the second wave of COVID-19 and only heed to expert advice. In his monthly Mann Ki Baat telecast, PM appeals for all eligible persons to get themselves vaccinated. Government directs all major ports to waive off all charges levied by major port trusts for ships carrying oxygen. Also directs major ports to accord highest priority in the berthing sequence to the vessels carrying oxygen-related consignments. Lockdown extended in national capital Delhi till the 3rd of May. Delhi government says rate of infection drops, but still surge in cases reported, while Delhi police makes green corridor to supply oxygen to hospitals. Centre announces a substantial increase in overall production and allotment of remdesivir to all states. Maharashtra gets the maximum quota of 4,35,000 vials. In international news, in Iraq, 82 people died and 110 were injured in fire that broke out in a Baghdad hospital. Initial reports indicated the fire at the Khatib hospital was caused when an oxygen cylinder exploded. Hello and welcome. You're watching News Connect with me, Mumnan Bhattacharya. Let's get started with our lead story. In line with Prime Minister's direction of boosting availability of oxygen to hospitals, the PM Cares Fund has given in-principle approval for allocation of funds for installation of 551 dedicated pressure swing absorption medical oxygen generation plants inside public health facilities in the country. Prime Minister has directed that these plants should be made functional as soon as possible. He said that these plants will serve as a major boost to oxygen availability at the district level. These dedicated plants will be established in identified government hospitals and district headquarters in various states and union territories. The procurement will be done through the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The PM Cares Fund had earlier this year allocated 201.58 crore rupees for installation of additional 162 dedicated pressure swing absorption medical oxygen generation plants inside public health facilities in the country. The basic aim behind establishing PSA oxygen generation plants at government hospitals in the district headquarters is to further strengthen the public health system and ensure that each of these hospitals has a captive oxygen generation facility. Such an in-house captive oxygen generation facility would address the day-to-day medical oxygen needs of these hospitals and the district. In addition, the liquid medical oxygen would serve as a top-up to the captive oxygen generation. Such a system will go a long way in ensuring that government hospitals in the districts do not face sudden disruption of oxygen supplies and have access to adequate, uninterrupted oxygen supply to manage COVID-19 patients and other patients needing such support. A key decision taken by the government of setting up 551 medical oxygen generation plants at government hospitals in district headquarters across the country. Union Home Minister Amit Shah in a tweet has termed this as a big decision to curb the oxygen crisis and help the people in need. He thanked PM Narendra Modi for allocating funds to install 551 PSA oxygen generation plants in public health facilities across the country through PM Cares. In his 76th episode of the monthly radio broadcast Mann Ki Baat, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave insights of his long deliberations with experts from myriad sectors. He informed that those connected with oxygen production have put forth their valuable suggestions to the government. Prime Minister also assured that the Government of India is applying its entire might in giving a fillip to the endeavours of state governments.
बीते दिनों इस संकट से निपटने के लिए मेरी अलग अलग सेक्टर्स के एक्सपर्ट्स के साथ, विशेषज्ञों के साथ लंबी चर्चा हुई है। हमारी फार्मा इंडस्ट्री के लोग हों, वैक्सीन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स हों, ऑक्सीजन के प्रोडक्शन से जुड़े लोग हों या फिर मेडिकल फील्ड के जानकार, उन्होंने अपने महत्वपूर्ण सुझाव सरकार को दिए हैं। इस समय हमें इस लड़ाई को जीतने के लिए एक्सपर्ट्स और वैज्ञानिक सलाह को प्राथमिकता देनी है। राज्य सरकार के प्रयत्नों को आगे बढ़ाने में भारत सरकार पूरी शक्ति से जुटी हुई है। राज्य सरकारें भी अपना दायित्व निभाने की पूरी कोशिश कर रही हैं।
Prime Minister Modi also appealed to countrymen not to get swayed by any rumours on COVID vaccines and pointed out that from 1st May onwards, the vaccine is going to be made available for every person above 18 years in the country. In another appeal, the Prime Minister asked states to extend the benefit of free vaccine drive of the centre to maximum number of the people of their state.
कि इस संकट काल में वैक्सीन की अहमियत सभी को पता चल रही है। इसलिए मेरा आग्रह है कि वैक्सीन को लेकर किसी भी अफवाह में न आए। आप सभी को मालूम भी होगा कि भारत सरकार की तरफ से सभी राज्य सरकारों को फ्री वैक्सीन भेजी गई है, जिसका लाभ 45 साल की उम्र के ऊपर के लोग ले सकते हैं। अब तो 1 मई से देश में 18 साल के ऊपर के हर व्यक्ति के लिए वैक्सीन उपलब्ध होने वाली है। अब देश का कॉरपोरेट सेक्टर, कंपनियां भी अपने कर्मचारियों को वैक्सीन लगाने के अभियान में भागीदारी निभा पाएगी। मुझे ये भी कहना है कि भारत सरकार की तरफ से मुफ्त वैक्सीन का जो कार्यक्रम अभी चल रहा है, वो आगे भी चलता रहेगा। मेरा राज्यों से भी आग्रह है कि वो भारत सरकार के इस मुफ्त वैक्सीन अभियान का लाभ अपने राज्य के ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचाएं।
Concluding his message, Prime Minister lauded the efforts of the citizens and appreciated the zeal with which they are serving their fellow citizens who are in dire need of assistance. He said that this time a new awareness is also being seen in villages. He also said that whatever efforts are being made are of great service to society.
देश के अलग अलग कोने में इस चुनौतीपूर्ण समय में भी स्वयंसेवी संगठन आगे आकर दूसरों की मदद के लिए जो भी कर सकते हैं वो करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। इस बार गांवों में भी नई जागरूकता देखी जा रही है। कोविड नियमों का सख्ती से पालन करते हुए लोग अपने गांव की कोरोना से रक्षा कर रहे हैं। जो लोग बाहर से आ रहे हैं उनके लिए सही व्यवस्थाएं भी बनाई जा रही हैं। शहरों में भी कई नौजवान सामने आए हैं जो अपने क्षेत्र में कोरोना के केस न बढ़ें, इसके लिए स्थानीय निवासियों के साथ मिलकर प्रयास कर रहे हैं। यानी एक तरफ देश दिन रात अस्पतालों, वेंटिलेटर्स और दवाइयों के लिए काम कर रहा है, तो दूसरी ओर देशवासी भी जी जान से कोरोना की चुनौती का मुकाबला कर रहे हैं। आज हमारी सबसे बड़ी प्राथमिकता है इस बीमारी को हराना।
In view of the excessive requirement of oxygen and related equipment in the country, the government has directed all major ports, including the Kamarajar Port Limited, to waive off all charges levied by major port trusts for ships carrying oxygen and oxygen-related equipment cargo and accord highest priority in the berthing sequence to the vessels carrying consignments of medical-grade oxygen, oxygen tanks, oxygen bottles, portable oxygen generations, and oxygen concentrators, steel pipes for manufacturing oxygen cylinders and associated equipment for the next 3 months or until further orders. On all the steps that the Government of India is taking to ensure that there is a high availability of oxygen in the country, we are joined by correspondent Arun Sharma. Arun, PM CARES has approved a decision to install 551 medical oxygen plants at government hospitals and district headquarters. By when do you think this decision will be able to boost oxygen supply in government hospitals across the country?
Good evening, Munmun. We know this fact the situation is extremely grim as far as oxygen supply is concerned. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is regularly taking meeting and reviewing the situation. And this decision will play an important and significant role as far as, making available the oxygen supply, not only in big cities, but in tier 2 town and tier 3 town. We should understand this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has, asked various authorities to ensure that these plants gets operational as soon as possible. But there are certain, challenges as of now. But as far as the PM CARES fund is concerned, earlier also we know this fact that more than 160 the PSA oxygen generation plans were given approval by the government, and now Prime Minister Narendra Modi has again given this approval of setting up of more than 551 oxygen plants primarily, or the PSAs primarily in various districts. There are more than 550 districts in our country as of now. There are big districts in our country. There are small districts also in our country. There are districts that are located in the challenging locations, in the tough terrains as well as of now. So as of now, the government has given approval. But yes, we can expect that very soon that these oxygen generating plants will be operational, so that the oxygen deficit in the small district, in tier 3 town, in tier 4 town will be operational as soon as possible. But yes, government is adopting multi-tier strategies so that the oxygen supply can be smoothened. On one side, we have seen that how the basic customs duty on various oxygen equipment, oxygen related infrastructure, that was waived off yesterday. And today also, all the ships that are carrying various oxygen-related equipment, oxygen-related infrastructure, the charges have been waived off at various ports in our country. So there are various ports, for example, Mundra Port, Adani Port. So all the private ports and the government ports, government has primarily waived off all the charges on all these private and government ports in our country, so that any ships that is carrying primarily oxygen-related equipment, oxygen-related infrastructure, that can be streamlined, that can be available as soon as possible. So that is what the government strategy is. So on the other side, how can oxygen can be manufactured as soon as possible? There are various corporate sector, the big corporate players in our country that are making tie-ups with the corporate sector of other country as well, and they are importing oxygen as of now. So as far as import duty or the basic custom duty is concerned, that has been waived off, so that there is easy availability to the big corporate players as far as oxygen is concerned. So on the other side, the government has given a green signal or approval primarily for setting up of more than 550 the oxygen plants, primarily the PSA oxygen plants, that will play an important role in days to come, primarily as far as oxygen availability is concerned. So this is a big step as far as ensuring easy availability of oxygen by the government.
Right, Arun, we also know that overall production and allocation to states of remdesivir has been increased. Will this decision help meet the rising demand for this antiviral drug?
So, Munmun, what we have seen that, in last 20 to 25 days, there was a sudden, surge in the demand of remdesivir. Right from the first week of April, we have seen that how the demand was gradually surging in various states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Delhi as well. So now we know this fact that even Mansukh Mandaviya, the Union Minister, has tweeted this information that the capacities of remdesivir is gradually being increased to more than 70 to 80 lakhs vials on a daily basis. When you look at in the month of January, February, the production capacity of 7 to 8 leading manufacturers of remdesivir, they were producing close to 25 lakh to 30 lakh vials of remdesivir. But now the government has given approval, and of course, all these 7 to 8 leading remdesivir manufacturers, they have increased their production capacities as far as remdesivir is concerned. That's number one. So now what is happening, that this remdesivir injection, or the vials primarily, these capacities by the end of this month, or by the end of by the mid of the next month, we can expect the capacities to be increased to 70 lakh to 80 lakh vials on a monthly basis. So depending upon that, we know this fact that Uttar Pradesh, for that matter, one of the largest state more than 150 lakh vials of remdesivir has been approved. The quota has been improved massively to Uttar Pradesh. As far as Delhi is concerned, which is showing huge demand of remdesivir injection over there, more than 70,000 remdesivir vials have been, allocated to Delhi. So primarily looking at the demand in various states, the quota of remdesivir injection has been increased on one side, and government is also ensuring that there is no hoarding, there is no black marketing as far as remdesivir injection is concerned. Because we are getting cases, Munmun, as of now, whereby remdesivir injection, whereby government has approved it for 800 rupees to 900 rupees, the minimum cost that Zydus is making it. There are people, they have been found black marketing it for 90,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees as far as remdesivir injection is concerned. So government on other side is ensuring that there is no holding, there is no black marketing of these remdesivir injection. And that's the reason the police primarily is also playing an important role. And as far as the distributors of remdesivir in Delhi is concerned, in various other states are concerned, there is specifically police over there with proper prescription, Aadhaar card, and only doctor's prescription. Now remdesivir is being distributed to the patients as of now, so that there is no holding, there is no black marketing. Initially, we saw that how people started holding remdesivir, 4 to 5 remdesivirs that people were holding just for the sake of holding it, because there was a fear of scarcity of remdesivir. But now government on one side is ensuring that production, how can production be increased? That's number one. Number two, there should not be any kind of black marketing or holding as far as remdesivir injection is concerned. That's number two. And number three, the state's quota is being increased significantly, so that whatever the demand any state is having as far as remdesivir injection is concerned, that can be fulfilled as far as remdesivir injection is concerned. That is also what government is ensuring, because this is the only multi-tier strategy as to how can the remdesivir injection can reach actually the needy people who actually want it, and not to the people who are actually holding it just for the sake of holding it.
Right, Arun. Also, we are aware that the centre is in constant touch with states on battling the COVID-19 crisis. What directions has the centre given states in the past few days on the next phase of the vaccination drive for the 18 to 45-year age group starting the 1st of May?
See, the centre and states are working in coordination as far as, containing the COVID crisis is concerned. That's number one. Number two, centre is clearly focusing upon the fact and clearly urging all the states that the focus should be on micro-containment zones, that more and more micro-containment zones should be created, and the focus should be on the micro-containment zones. That's number two. Number three, centre and states are in coordination as far as availability of various important and significant drugs or medicines like remdesivir or other medicine. How can that be fulfilled? And of course, the oxygen supply can be ensured. Easy availability of oxygen can be ensured. That's what centre is ensuring to the states, because most of the states as of now are having only two demands, and that is of oxygen. And how can the oxygen beds can be made available to the states? And last but not the least, that all the healthcare equipment, healthcare devices that is required for the treatment of COVID-19, that can be ensured to the states as well. So centre and states are coordinating, and according to that, the various steps are being taken so that primarily these kind of deficit or demand deficit of various healthcare equipments can be fulfilled. So this is how centre and states are working together. But yes, we know this fact that there are, in this grim situation, we are getting some good news as well. For example, Munmun, a place like Mumbai, city like Mumbai has now started showing decline in the number of coronavirus cases. Because of the lockdowns imposed in various states, we are now witnessing that how various states are fighting the COVID crisis, and the place like Mumbai, that's a high density city, that is now showing the decline in the number of cases. Similarly, in Delhi, we know this fact that the number of fatalities have become of great concern. But yes, one more good news is that the number of total cases is 24,000 on a daily basis. This is not increasing the way it was increasing a week ago. So now the major focus of the government as of now is to reduce the number of cases, to control the number of fatalities as of now by ensuring there is a ample supply of oxygen. Number one. Number two, the critical medical requirement, maybe like injections like remdesivir or other healthcare equipment, how can that be ensured to the states so that the number of fatalities can be controlled, that can be lowered in number? That is what the center and states, they both are looking forward. And yes, the oxygen bed, how can that be made available to states primarily? That is the clear-cut focus of center and states as of now, because the focus of both the state government and central government is clearly on the fact that how can each and every lives that can be saved, and they're working on this strategy as of now.
Right. Thank you, Arun, for bringing us up to speed with the latest decisions that have been taken by the Centre to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. The Delhi government today announced that the lockdown in the national capital would be extended to next Monday till 5 a.m. in view of the rising number of coronavirus cases. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said that the rate of infection has come down in the national capital, but there are still too many cases, so the lockdown needs to be extended. The Delhi police is playing a crucial role in escorting oxygen tankers to hospitals in Delhi. Here is an image tweeted by the Union Home Ministry which shows that tanker number GJ063520 coming from Panipat via Singhu border going to ESI hospital in Basai, Darapur and Marana Agra hospital in Punjabi Bagh was provided green corridor by Delhi police for fast and efficient medical oxygen supply. As COVID cases surge in the national capital, Delhi police personnel are performing tasks like arranging oxygen for hospitals on distress calls. Delhi police has taken an initiative to facilitate plasma therapy for needy patients by setting up a digital data bank of plasma donors. Named Jeevan Rakshak or Savior of Life, this initiative is to create a digital data bank interface between plasma donors and needy recipients after due authentication. All the data bank of donors and recipients will be maintained centrally by Delhi police. Further, a dedicated team will be deputed to check out the requests received for plasma recipients and on availability of the suitable donor. The information about the recipient and donor will be shared among them. This initiative will help in facilitating timely plasma therapy for the recipients, thus saving precious lives. The centre has advised states and union territories to register additional private COVID vaccination centres in mission mode for the third phase of vaccination, which will commence from 1st May. It has asked them to engage with private hospitals, hospitals of industrial establishments and industry associations. The states have been asked to monitor the number of hospitals that have procured vaccines and have declared stocks and prices on COVIN. They have been asked to publicize about facility of only online registration for the 18 to 45 age group. States were advised to coordinate with law and order authorities for effective crowd management at COVID vaccination centres. COVID-19 vaccination drive is going smoothly in the country. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has reported more than 25,36,000 vaccinations during the last 24 hours. The ministry has informed that so far more than 14 crore 9 lakh COVID vaccines have been administered in the country. COVID-19 cases continue to increase throughout the country. In the last 24 hours, more than 3,49,000 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported across the country. In the last 24 hours, more than 2,17,000 patients have recovered from the infection, and at present, the total number of active COVID-19 patients in the country stand at 26,82,751. In the last 24 hours, 2,767 patients have died of COVID-19 across the country, taking the death toll to 1,92,311. The COVID mortality rate has come down to 1.13%. Maharashtra has reported the highest daily new cases at 67,160 in the last 24 hours. Our correspondent Shyama now joins us from Mumbai with more details. Shyama, we understand that while the graph of new daily cases is rising in Maharashtra, the graph is falling in other cities like Mumbai as well as Pune. Bring us up to speed with what are the areas in Maharashtra that are contributing to the bulk of the cases in Maharashtra, And how has there been a decline in cases in Mumbai and Pune?
When the earlier numbers had come that Mumbai was registering positive cases below 8,000, and that was like on a daily count, and we were seeing that cases had come down to 8,400, 8,800, and so on and so forth. And now that the cases are coming in 7,000 range, and even Pune has been registering lower positive cases, we are attributing these the positive cases coming down to the stringent measures that have been put in place by the state government, by the district administration, and various other administration. But yes, we were earlier attributing to the entire overall Maharashtra figure to the less number of tests that were happening, because even on the day when we were seeing that the numbers were coming down from 55 or from 60,000 down, we were attributing it to the less number of tests that may have happened 2 to 3 days before that. And that was the case, because then again the number had come back to 67 up, 65 up. So those were the cases. And apart from that, we also have the maximum highest cases that are active cases that are in Satara and other places including. Apart from that, we are also seeing, we have spoken about stringent measures that are in place. We had spoken a week back about how Mumbai police had started this campaign or initiative about various categories of essential services. They should have various color coded stickers. So we got to know that yesterday night the Mumbai police has withdrawn this entire initiative, saying that still all the vehicles which are plying on the road would be checked thoroughly, but this initiative of the color coded scheme, that would be completely off the road. So people who have been putting these stickers, they may take down their stickers, because we were seeing somewhere or the other misuse of this initiative was happening, and those people who were not falling into the essential category, even they were going off without checking. Apart from this, the medical facilities that are there in the state, we all know for the fact that Maharashtra is one state which is the worst affected states in terms of not just reporting daily highest cases every day of positive COVID-19, but also how fast we are exhausting our entire medical services, entire medical facilities, including the oxygen, ventilator, ICU beds. So the entire process for ramping up these processes, these facilities are also going on, and we also know that the center has already been helping Maharashtra in terms of oxygen supply, be it airlifting or be by the Oxygen Express. And also apart from that, various other states are also coming forward for oxygen supplying, and we are also seeing that many plants would be set up that would be generating oxygen through air, and in the state 14 places have been given this nod that they would be coming soon with this plant, and we may see in few days that the generation of this oxygen would begin from these places.
Shama, the Maharashtra government has also announced free vaccination in the 18 to 45 age group starting the 1st of May. Does that mean that anyone that goes to take a jab to a state government hospital will get this vaccine free of cost?
Well, we heard it from Nawab Malik, the state minister, and he was talking about on various issues related to whatever there is in current issue, and he has spoken that Maharashtra, even after the 1st of May, when the vaccination drive for 18 years plus age would begin, they would all get vaccination free of cost. So prima facie, after his statement, we are guessing that everyone who is going to the state-run center, government-run center for vaccination, they would be getting it free of cost. But for now, we are seeing that all the private centers, they are charging $250 per dosage. So we are yet to know about the details. And if once the state government or the CMO comes out with a statement that would it be providing all the people who would be approaching the government-run centers for vaccination, would that be for free of cost, or they would have to pay some minimal amount for that? So apart from the bite, we also have to wait for the CMO official statement, and if that comes, once that comes, only then we can be sure that Maharashtra would also be one of those states which has announced free of cost vaccination jab for everyone, even for the people who would be coming in the new phase, latest phase that will be starting May 1st.
Right. Thank you, Shama, for those updates. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, as many as 27 crore 79 lakh 18,810 samples have been tested across the country so far, and out of this, 17 lakh 19,588 samples were tested yesterday. The centre has substantially increased the allotment of antiviral drug remdesivir to all states. A maximum of 4,35,000 vials have been allotted to Maharashtra, followed by 1,65,000 to Gujarat, 1,61,000 to UP and 1,22,000 to Karnataka. Delhi has been allotted 72,000 vials and 75,000 vials have been provided to Chhattisgarh and 95,000 to Madhya Pradesh. This allocation is till the 30th of this month. Bharat Biotech has announced the price of Covaxin for state governments and private hospitals. It will cost 600 rupees per dose for state governments and 1,200 rupees per dose for private hospitals. The price of the vaccine for export is going to be in the range of $15 to $20. The Jammu and Kashmir government will provide COVID-19 vaccine free of cost to all above 18 years of age. Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha said that the Union Territory Administration will bear the cost of vaccine procurement from the manufacturer. The decision to this effect was taken at a high-level meeting chaired by the Lieutenant Governor in Jammu yesterday. Mr. Sinha expressed gratitude to the Prime Minister for announcing a liberalized vaccine policy, making all above 18 years of age eligible for inoculation from the 1st of May. The LG asked concerned officials to constitute a vaccine logistics team for ensuring hassle-free procurement and availability of COVID-19 vaccines in the Union Territory. On the first Sunday of complete lockdown during the COVID-19 second wave, people largely chose to remain indoors in Tamil Nadu. Arterial roads across the state witnessed little vehicular movement. Only food delivery agents and sanitization workers of the city corporation were seen plying on roads. Tamil Nadu decided to impose complete lockdown on Sunday with some exceptions to curtail the rapid spread of coronavirus in the state. The second wave of the coronavirus pandemic has hit India the hardest, leaving the nation gasping for life-saving oxygen. A major challenge for India is not just the production of oxygen, but also to store and transport it to various states like Delhi, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and others worst affected by the crisis. To combat this, New Delhi has reached out to various countries to procure containers and oxygen cylinders to meet the growing demand of oxygen across the country under Operation Oxygen Maitri. In this connection, Adani Group on Tuesday wrote a letter of interest to MS Linde, Dammam in Saudi Arabia to procure oxygen cylinders. Indian missions in the UAE and Singapore are in touch with concerned authorities and manufacturers to procure the containers. In a tweet, the Embassy of India in Saudi Arabia said, and I quote, Embassy of India is proud to partner with Adani Group and MS Linde in shipping much-needed 80 metric tons liquid oxygen to India. A heartfelt thanks to the Ministry of Health, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for their help, support and cooperation. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in a tweet has said that our hearts go out to the Indian people in the midst of the horrific COVID-19 outbreak. We are working closely with our partners in the Indian government and we will rapidly deploy additional support to the people of India and India's healthcare heroes. White House's National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, Jake Sullivan, in a tweet has said that the U.S. is deeply concerned by the severe COVID outbreak in India. We are working round the clock to deploy more supplies and support to our friends and partners in India as they bravely battle this pandemic. More very soon. And our correspondent Abhishek Jana joins us for more. Abhishek, India under Vaccine Maitri had helped over 80 countries. We had even supplied earlier hydroxychloroquine drug that was being used by those in close contact with COVID-19 patients like healthcare workers to the United States. Now is the US set to help India with the import and export of raw materials that are used in manufacturing vaccines and other crucial medical equipment to help fight COVID-19?
So, Munmun, this tweet of Secretary Blinken is coming little after so much of confusion there has been, because there has been some sort of SOS call from the vaccine manufacturer in India that they are in dire need of certain regular flow of raw materials that can come directly from USA, and USA, like their officials on their part in the last 2-3 days on various briefings, they did not have any encouraging answer on that effect, whether the supply of those raw materials will be smoothened or there will be a regular supply to India, especially those materials which is kind of being hoarded in USA and not being utilized immediately. But then today morning we saw that tweet from Secretary Blinken, where he has said that additional support to India will be deployed, but what will be the kind of additional support, this is still not clear. India is expecting that the raw materials needed for vaccine manufacturing, raw materials for drug manufacturing should be immediately be allowed to be exported back to India. Also, there are certain stockpile of vaccines that are in USA, which is expected that USA will not be needing in the days to come, because they have enough of vaccines from other sources, and their total vaccination program is very much on path, where by July they'll be totally vaccinated, and it looks like they will have enough of a stockpile which they can actually spare at this moment of time also. And India, which is reeling under one of the unprecedented pressure of COVID pandemic in the world right now, needs those kind of support immediately, and we'll have to wait whether these additional deployment of support that Secretary Blinken has mentioned will mean that India will be getting more raw materials and vaccine supplies from US in the days to come.
Right, Abhishek. Thank you for those updates. Back home, West Bengal will go to the polls tomorrow for the 7th phase. 34 assembly seats will be going to polls tomorrow. 9 assembly seats each in Murshidabad, West Bardhaman districts, 6 assembly seats each in Dakshin Dinajpur and Malda districts, and 4 assembly seats in Kolkata will be polling tomorrow. Polling in 12,068 polling stations for the 7th phase will commence from 7 in the morning and will continue till 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, campaigning for the 8th phase of West Bengal polls is at its peak. BJP President JP Nadda addressed the voters of Manikchak Assembly seat virtually, where he said that the people of Bengal will fearlessly vote against the state government's autocracy.
वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं को डराने का, धमकाने का, उनको चुनाव में गतिविधि न करें इसका धमकाना, अब ये काम टीएमसी ने पकड़ लिया है और टीएमसी के गुंडों ने पकड़ लिया है। मैं बड़े साफ शब्दों में कहना चाहता हूं कि जहां तक बंगाल की जनता है, ममता जी वो अब डरने वाली नहीं है। वो आपके तानाशाही से निजात चाहती है, छुटकारा चाहती है, और आने वाले समय में 7वें और 8वें फेज में भी वह इस बात का निर्णायक लड़ाई लड़ेगी। आपके डराने से डरने वाली नहीं है, वो आगे बढ़ेगी और कमल के निशान पर वो अपना मत देगी।
Mahavir Jayanti, the birth anniversary of the 24th and last Jain Tirthankar Bhagwan Mahavir, is being celebrated across the country today. Mahavir Jayanti is considered to be one of the most auspicious events for the Jain community and holds a lot of importance in the religious life. President Ram Nath Kovind has extended heartfelt greetings to all countrymen. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Heartfelt greetings to all countrymen, especially the Jain community on Mahavir Jayanti. Lord Mahavir showed humanity a new path to the ideals of Ahimsa Paramo Dharam and live and let live. Let us all follow his teachings and pledge to defeat COVID-19 on the basis of collective discipline." Prime Minister Narendra Modi also took to Twitter and extended greetings on the occasion. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "The life message of Lord Mahavir teaches us peace and self-control. When all the people of our country are fighting together this crisis of Corona on Mahavir Jayanti, I pray to Lord Mahavir to keep everyone healthy and bless our efforts with success." Home Minister Amit Shah has greeted everyone on the occasion of Mahavir Jayanti today, describing Lord Mahavir as the eternal symbol of renunciation, tenacity, truth and non-violence. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Best wishes on Mahavir Jayanti, Lord Mahavir Ji, the eternal symbol of renunciation, tenacity, truth and non-violence, paved the way for the welfare of the entire human race with his education full of karma primacy. His life and his thoughts will always guide us." Senior Indian Information Service Officer Manikant Thakur passed away this morning following COVID-19 infection. He was admitted in the Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi. Mr. Thakur was serving as Chief of Media in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. In his illustrious career of 30 years in the Indian Information Service, he served in different departments of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, including Bureau of Outreach and Communication, News Services Division of AIR, and TD News. He held important responsibilities of Head of Reporting in AIR News and DD News. Senior officials in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, All India Radio News, and Doordarshan News, along with Press Club of India, have condoled the death of Mr. Thakur. The 19th edition of the Indian and French Navy bilateral exercise Varun 2021 is scheduled to be conducted in the Arabian Sea from the 25th to the 27th of April 2021. From the Indian Navy's side, guided missile stealth destroyer Kolkata, guided missile frigates Tarkash and Talwar, fleet support ship Deepak with Sea King 42B and Chetak integral helicopters, a Calvary class submarine and P-8I long-range maritime patrol aircraft will participate in the exercise. The French Navy will be represented by the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle with Rafale M fighter E-2C Hawkeye aircraft and helicopters Skyman M and Dauphin, embarked Horizon class air defense destroyer Chevalier Paul, Aquitaine class multi-missions frigate Provence with a Cayman M helicopter embarked, and command and supply ship Var. The Indian side will be led by Rear Admiral Ajay Kochar, flag officer commanding Western Fleet, while the French side will be led by Rear Admiral Marc Osedat, commander Task Force 473. The three-day exercise will see high-tempo naval operations at sea, including advanced air defense and anti-submarine exercises, intense fixed and rotary wing flying operations, tactical maneuvers, surface and anti-air weapon firings underway, replenishment and other maritime security operations. In international news, some 350 protesters opposed to stricter coronavirus rules took to the streets of Frankfurt on Saturday night, denouncing curfews imposed in areas with high infection rates. The mostly young demonstrators gathered in the center of Germany's financial capital and carried banners reading, "The virus does not go on walks at night, it goes to work during the day." In Berlin, both chambers of parliament approved the amendments to the so-called Infection Protection Act earlier this week to give the federal government more powers to fight the third wave of the pandemic. The new law enables the government to impose curfews between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in areas where the virus incidence exceeds 100 cases per 1 lakh residents for 3 days in a row. Chancellor Angela Merkel drew up the law after some of the 16 federal states refused to implement tougher measures despite a surge in COVID-19 cases and in defiance of a lockdown agreement reached in March. Several thousand anti-lockdown demonstrators marched through central London on Saturday despite restrictions on mass gatherings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The event was billed by organizers as Unite for Freedom. Protesters chanted freedom and take off your mask, and some carried placards saying no to vaccine passports and lockdowns kill. Most were unmasked. The protesters view COVID-19 restrictions as unnecessary and a breach of their human rights. They oppose vaccinations, mask wearing and the so-called health passports. England has relaxed its lockdown restrictions in recent weeks. Non-essential shops and outdoor hospitality reopened on 12th April, but indoor gatherings are still banned until 17th May at the earliest. After one long year of lockdown due to the coronavirus, seniors of Mexico City were finally able to get back on their feet on Saturday and dance in public parks. Seniors who have received their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine returned to their dancing lessons and moved their bodies to the rhythm of danzón, a dance style of Cuban origin. Mexico began vaccinations late last year and has so far fully inoculated nearly 4 million people, most of whom are adults over 60. Out of a total population of 126 million. In the United States, a severe storm flipped over mobile homes, uprooted trees and damaged property across southern Alabama early Saturday. Strong winds and rain tore through the strait. Severe storms struck the central and southern United States on Friday, spawning at least one confirmed tornado in Texas and several reports of baseball-sized hail or larger. This same storm system will track east, bringing similar hazards to over 20 million people across the southeast Saturday afternoon. An enhanced risk of severe weather, level 3 out of 5, has been issued by National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center. The area under enhanced risk stretches across portions of Alabama, Georgia and Florida. It includes the cities of Savannah, Georgia and Tallahassee, Florida. In Northern Ireland, firefighters were busy fighting a massive fire on Mourne Mountains on Saturday. About 100 firefighters were part of this multi-agency effort. Coast Guard helicopters helped transport fire crews to remote locations to tackle the fire. Local media reported that the blaze started on Friday in Slieve Donard, the highest of the Mourne Mountains. Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service has declared the fire a major incident and has urged the public to stay away as the fire is likely to continue until Sunday. A fire sparked by an oxygen tank explosion killed at least 82 people and injured 110 at a hospital in Baghdad that had been equipped to house COVID-19 patients, an Interior Ministry spokesman said on Sunday. The fire erupted on Saturday at the Ibn Khatib hospital in the Diyala bridge area. A member of Iraq's semi-official High Commission for Human Rights, Ali Bayathi, had said earlier a final death toll had not yet been officially announced, but it could be between 30 to 45. Patients' relatives scrambled during the blaze to save their loved ones. Iraq's Prime Minister fired key hospital officials on Sunday, hours after a fire broke out in an intensive care unit for coronavirus patients in Baghdad, causing deaths and injuries. Initial reports indicated the fire at Ibn al-Khatib hospital late Saturday was caused when an oxygen cylinder exploded. Albania held a parliamentary election on Sunday, likely to be a neck-and-neck contest between the ruling socialists and the opposition as corruption weighs heavily on voters in one of Europe's poorest nations. The Socialist Party of Prime Minister Edi Rama is seeking a third term, while Democratic Party wants a return to power 8 years after losing an election. With a population of 2.8 million, but 3.6 million voters due to its large diaspora, Albania has a history of violence and fraud allegations during elections in the 3 decades since the end of communism. Russian warships positioned themselves near Sevastopol on Saturday, executing the plan announced by the country's defense ministry to temporarily restrict the movement of foreign warships in part of the Black Sea. The right of passage of foreign warships and other state ships will be suspended in 3 spots near Crimea's Black Sea, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The passage is expected to be closed until the 31st of October. Myanmar's junta chief Min Aung Hlaing flew to Jakarta to join a special summit with Southeast Asian nation leaders on Saturday in one of the first coordinated international efforts to ease the crisis in the country. ASEAN leaders wanted a commitment from Min Aung Hlaing to restrain his security forces, who an activist monitoring group says have killed 745 people since a mass civil disobedience movement erupted to challenge his first February coup. They had also wanted the release of political prisoners. Later on Saturday, ASEAN leaders said they had agreed on a plan with Min Aung Hlaing to end the crisis in the violence-hit nation, but he did not explicitly respond to demands to halt the killing of civilian protesters. It was unusual for the leader of a military government in Myanmar to attend an ASEAN summit. Indonesian searchers have recovered debris believed to be from the missing submarine lost in the Bali Sea, officials said on Saturday, as hopes dwindle for the 53 crew, which are expected to have run out of oxygen at dawn. Indonesian Navy Chief of Staff Yudo Margono said a scan had detected 850 meters below the 45-year-old KRI Nanggala 402 submarine, which lost contact on Wednesday as it prepared to conduct a torpedo drill. But he said the search would continue since debris had been found. Israeli police and Palestinians scuffled outside Jerusalem's old city walls overnight into Sunday as tensions flared during the Muslim holiday of Ramadan, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appealed for calm. Hundreds of police officers in riot gear deployed around the old city after nightly clashes spilled into the Gaza Strip and occupied West Bank. Some Palestinians threw stones and bottles as police on horseback dispersed the crowds, though the violence appeared less intense than on previous nights. The protests spread to several cities in the West Bank and along the Israel-Gaza border. Palestinians say the police have tried to prevent them from holding their usual Ramadan evening gatherings outside the gate. On the other hand, Israelis have been angered by videos on social media showing Palestinians assaulting religious Jews in the city. Violence spilled over to Gaza overnight between Friday and Saturday when Palestinian militants fired 36 rockets at Israel. In a historic move, the U.S. President on Saturday announced that 1915 massacres of Armenians in the Ottoman Empire constituted genocide. The historic declaration infuriated Turkey and is said to further strain already frayed ties between the two NATO allies. Thousands of people took to the streets of Los Angeles to commemorate the massacres of Armenians by the Ottoman Empire on a day when the U.S. government gave historic recognition to those events as a genocide. In a statement, Biden said the American people honor all those Armenians who perished in the genocide that began 106 years ago today. Biden also said that we do this not to cast blame, but to ensure that what happened is never repeated. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan wrote in a letter to the U.S. President as a token of gratitude. Seen as after effects, Turkey called in U.S. Ambassador to Ankara David Satterfield after President Joe Biden said that the 1,915 massacres of Armenians in the Ottoman Empire constituted genocide. Turkey's government and most of the opposition showed rare unity in their rejection of Biden's statement. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said Turkey entirely rejects the U.S. decision, which he said was based solely on populism, while the opposition denounced it as a major mistake. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern paid tribute to the country's past and present military personnel at a dawn service in Auckland on Sunday to mark Anzac Day. The day marks the landing of thousands of troops from the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps on the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey on the 25th of April 1915. The ill-fated military campaign against the Turks has become an important anniversary to remember troops from both countries who served and died in war. In her address, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern remembered the contribution of women in the war.
From the Federation Guard.
And they...
The banner depicts the unit colour patch of the 1st Australian Division Artillery.
Also, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, together with the New Zealand High Commissioner to Australia, Dame Annette King, laid wreaths at Canberra's National War Memorial, marking the day. Due to coronavirus restrictions, only 3,000 people were allowed to attend the ticketed ceremony. It also marked the first time soldiers from Australia and New Zealand fought under their own flags and is seared in the national consciousness as a point when their nations came of age, emerging from the shadow of the British Empire. A herd of very happy cows got their first chance to go out in the green fields at a farm in southern Sweden on Saturday after a long dark winter cooped up inside. Sweden's traditional cow release normally attracts thousands of visitors to dairy farms all over the country every year, but coronavirus restrictions have seen the event move online instead. The cow release has long been a tradition among farmers in the Nordic region, and more farms are opening up and hosting events to give city dwellers the chance to see the animals their milk comes from up close. And with that, we come to the close of this edition of News Connect. Thanks for watching.
I strongly urge other countries to follow India's example. High Commissioner, please let your Prime Minister know that today our nation of St. Kitts and Nevis has been put further along the path to defeat COVID-19 than we were a week ago. And for this, I say thank you to give the government of India again a hand of commendation.